I will do my best to explain the unexplainable. The absolutely fun, low budget horror movie starring Nicolas Cage, sort of, called Arcadian. Welcome, friends. I am the man you may know as Z from Our Reviews Will Kill You, and I am here to break down as best I can the movie Arcadian. It's like the #1 streaming movie on Hulu. Apparently, it had limited release at like Cannes Film Festival and stuff, and never really made a major release, but is now out, and people are starting to talk about it, and people want to know what in the world they just saw, because that is a wild movie. It's a little bit horror, a little bit creature feature, a little bit of a thriller, and it's about family. It's always about family. So let's get into a brief synopsis, and I'll start explaining some things. I do have a little bit of footage, so bear with me as I try to bring it up to explain certain things that I thought were poignant and interesting, and some possible references to other movies, which I thought was pretty cool. So let's take a look first at the score. Bam. Oh, let's make it bigger so you can all see it. Now, I don't agree with this. I think it's going to change because there's only 50 verified reviews. The critics have it at 78% fresh. The fans have it at 56% verified ratings. And I will say maybe there's a reason for that. And there will be massive spoilers. I'm going to spoil the whole movie for everybody. One of the reasons why people might not like it is it's a little bit of a Godzilla. If you remember, you're not going to get as much from it. It's completely billed as a Nicolas Cage movie, right? And they do fridge Nicolas Cage at some point in this, so it's a little confusing, and a lot of the movie is carried by the kids. So it's kind of like that Godzilla situation where, you've got our friend from Breaking Bad who is not, Walter White's in it, and then all of a sudden Walter White disappears. For those of you who are Breaking Bad fans, you will understand. Bryan Cranston disappears from the Godzilla movie almost like 20 minutes into it, and he's like, oh, he's no longer in it. So this does something similar, but let's talk about the plot a little bit, and then we'll go in for some reviews, and we'll break some things down. But essentially, you have the story of, it's in the near future, so nobody really knows when it was, but it's essentially post-apocalypse where you have Nicolas Cage, and he is trying to escape from something, and it's unclear what it is. It seems like it's some sort of battle. It doesn't really tell you, because this movie does a good job of hiding things, including the creatures. And he's running, and he goes to grab his boys, his twin babies that he raises, and then it goes 15 years in the future. The family lives together on a relatively isolated farm or what have you. And every night they have to board up their windows and doors and barricade themselves in. And it's unclear why. And the boys are teenage boys. They're doing teenage boy things where they're getting tired of each other. That's all they have is to engage with each other. But it seems like almost every day, the one brother, whose name is Paul is Nicolas Cage. Thomas disappears, and he goes to the Rose Farm. And at the Rose Farm is a girl that he's fallen for. But every night he has to come back and be there on time, or else. Well, the one time he tries to make it back, and he comes back a little bit late, and he doesn't quite make it. He slips and he falls into a crevice. And Paul is nervous that his son did not come back because Joseph drove him there, and Joseph said, I don't know where he is. He went to the farm, or he went to the Rose Farm, and I haven't seen him since. Paul says you have to barricade yourself in, and I'll be back overnight. I'll bring back your brother. So Paul goes to find his son out in the night, and Joseph barricades himself in. And at this point, you get one of my favorite scenes in the entire thing, which I think I will share with you. Um, let's talk about this part because it just kind of sets the stage for this as horror. Because at this point, I was like, what is going on? So he's barricaded himself in the house, but he left one of the doors open, and something tries to sneak its way in. And I was just like, what is going on? This was an amazing scene. I really do love it. And you have to remember, I have to talk over this so that way I don't get yanked. But this thing, it's trying to reach for him, but somehow it's like genetically able to extend itself even further, and it's like growing its nail. Well, this was all ultimately a trap for the creature itself. And the creature is captured by Joseph. And in the meantime, Paul and Thomas are trapped at the bottom of this hole. And just it's still unclear what the creatures are, but they eventually fight their way out and get home. But Paul is badly injured because he essentially blows up. He caves in this hole in order to save the two of them and kill a bunch of the creatures, which you still have no idea what they really are. And Thomas brings him back to the house, but he's mortally injured. And he can no longer... He's basically out of the rest of the movie. So Thomas, Joseph, and Paul, they take their car and they go up and they try to stay with the Roses. And this is where the show just kind of goes off the deep end. I might be skipping a part too where they're trying to help Paul recover, but they go, we need medicine. Like, he's not going to recover. And they do capture one of these creatures. And you still don't clearly get to see the creature. And they end up killing it. But the one son does the genius son does an autopsy on it, but he starts to uncover things that he thinks are disturbing about the creatures. Cue back to them. They finally, they take the three of them, go up, try to get medicine, and they say, no, we don't have medicine to spare. The Rose family, they will not give any medicine, and but they will allow the one son to stay, so he can stay. And he decides to stay so that he could get medicine. And eventually, that all kind of falls apart where he gets accused of stealing medicine, and he gets accused. They decide to they're going to not torture him, but they're gonna shoot his leg off or something. I don't know. It gets a little weird, and then you find out that the creatures have come up with a plan in order to bury themselves. They buried themselves underneath of the houses, and they're going to burst up from inside them and kill everyone, which they end up doing, where Thomas and the girl end up fleeing back to the house with that still has Paul and Joseph in it. They flee back there, and then they come up with a plan because they know their house is in jeopardy too, where they're going to blow up the whole house. And they eventually do succeed, but not without costing Nicolas Cage's life. And the kids get away, and then they start a new life together, which is kind of weird because it's a three-way action. So that's the basic plot. There's some plot points in there that I missed, but it gives you an idea what happened. And a lot of it is unclear as to what's going on. There's these weird creatures. I thought the creature design was really cool. I really liked it. It was something different I haven't really seen before. And it was definitely bizarre. And what's really kind of interesting is they talked about, and this is some behind the scenes stuff, they talked about the creatures and how they wanted them to be adaptive and had a way that had different adaptations that would make them unique to this story. And it's cool because they on the top of their head they have a mimic thing where it almost mimics what a human looks like. But each of the kids has their own. The two kids tell a story. The girl and Thomas they play a game where they have to tell each other a story as to what happened. So let's hear what they have to say. And then what we'll do is I'll try to break it down for you guys because I went to go and read what exactly did happen. And what I'll do is I'll give my extrapolation because no one really has a good ending. They don't really know what is going on here. But I think you could kind of carve together a history around the creatures and a little bit about how everything came to go. Because what you're hearing is the story from the two kids, but neither of them were alive when any of this happened, And it's interesting to hear their take on it because to them it's a game because they don't see the creatures. It's infrequent. They only come out at night. They're averse to the sunlight, so it's pretty cool, right? And it's very clear that the father, Nicolas Cage, already understood quite a bit about these creatures, probably because he grew up in that, he came through that time of 15 years. So we're not talking too far into the past, but let's hear what the kids had to say, and we'll try to extrapolate from there. So this is her version of the story.
So there was this bug, and it got this infection, and it bit tons of people, and they all got the infection too. And then they died, and the machines took over, and they took their advantage, and the only people that were left were us.
Okay, so her story, right, is there was, and you get to see this in the movie, there is a whole thing where Joseph gets attacked by bugs at one point, and there is this reoccurring thing about the bugs, but obviously anyone who's left is probably immune, and Paul sees the bugs. They're underneath like one of the boards that he creates, and he just kind of looks at them with disdain, but doesn't seem afraid of them. So bugs bit people. People got sick and started dying. So people turned to the machines to try to figure it out. Maybe there's some kind of thinking AI, and the AI decided to exterminate the people. Now, let's hear what he has to say, because I think he has the second half of this, right? So this is his version.
The humans were living happy in their houses, and in the distance, this purple haze shows up, and it covers the entire sky. They all breathe it in, and they turn into wolves and run into the forest, and we haven't seen them since. I still have a little bit more to go. For all you know, it could be real.
So then maybe what happened is when they're fighting against the AI, because if you remember in the beginning of the movie, Nicolas Cage is running from something, and you kind of see there's this almost like a coliseum or something. It's unclear what it is, but clearly there's missiles being fired and people are being killed, and maybe that's part of the war between the humans and the machines. And then the machines release this purple haze, which causes humans to mutate into these creatures. Because these creatures they're vaguely bipedal. They clearly they can think, they seem to have some sort of intelligence. They have fingernails. They're almost like primates, but almost like dogs. Very interesting, right? And then they give us a little bit of a hint about we get to see a little bit of their life cycle, which I thought was cool, and a hint to another movie. So this is when the girl's mom gets assaulted, and this is what happens to her. This is pretty gross. But you can see their jaws go snapping and flapping about. And then it like drops this thing over top of her. And it seems pretty clear. Who knows if it's... the tricky part is it cloning her? Is this the reproduction cycle? It's hard to say. But you do get to see the mom later, and this is what she sees. So the thing's on the ground, and the mom is in some kind of like pod status, right? And I thought that was a neat little homage to the Body Snatchers, Attack of the Body Snatchers, or that old film, Return of the Body Snatchers. I don't know why I'm blanking on this, but I thought it was a pretty interesting effect to see this. And the one thing that I thought is maybe this is a little bit of a plot hole is, you've got this mom in this pod thing, and at one point you see Paul is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, duh. You see Paul there he's like still incapable of attacking or fighting. Like, he's still very injured. And then you see a creature sneak in and kind of climb over top of him. And then in the very next scene, you see that he's like up and about and he could fight. And I was like, did the thing clone him, or what the heck is going on here? Like, that's very bizarre. And then the creatures did one other weird thing that I wanted to show you guys. That's another reference to another movie, which I thought was pretty cool. So let's just take a look at this. So they're all on fire, rolling in a ball together. And I'm pretty sure everybody was like, oh my God, what in the world is this? What is even going on? Because I thought that was just outrageous that these goofy things are rolling around in like a ball. But if you've ever seen the cult classic Critters 2, you would know that they also had a rolling ball. So I feel like this guy, the director, is a big fan of horror movies. Benjamin Brewer, he has like a deep understanding of like classic horror movies and really, really enjoys them. And I think that it gives a really good idea of like he's just throwing in these little homages to Invasion of the Body Snatchers and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. They do discuss the creatures a little bit. That we could take a look at this, and because there's some, like I said, there's some behind the scenes things that I looked at just to get some frame of reference. And let's see here. They try to explain it in photos. These things are pretty gnarly. I really thought it was a great creature design. Very solid. And it's just the first weekend on Hulu. And hopefully you guys catch it. And I think it's going to spread by word of mouth. I think this could be a cult classic. I really do. People will really, really like this. A lot of people think this. I could just see people enjoying it. And I really enjoyed it. They're foul, hairy, dog-like creatures, right? And they can, like, extend their bodies. It makes sense to me that as a last-ditch effort that the computers, if there were, like, thinking machines, were like, oh, this is how we'll punish the humans and eradicate them.
Do one thing right.
Oh. Hold on. Gonna shut off the ads. Yeah, the camouflage forehead has a human face, but their actual faces are pretty gross. They kind of look like gross hippo-looking things. What the funny thing I heard, though, is that one of their designs was Goofy. Literally the Disney character Goofy. He wanted the beasts. This was how he described what he wanted them designed as. He wanted them designed big nocturnal eyes, massive spaced-out teeth. From the beginning, I had this idea of big nocturnal eyes, it's massive spaced-out teeth. Teeth way too big for the creature's mouth. Goofy, the Disney character, was a big inspiration. He directly referenced a sequence in the Goofy movie in which his Goofy's son, Max, has a nightmare about transforming into his father and truly has become an unsightly version of the Disney mainstay. That's where the Goofy thing comes in. He thought that was terrifying. The way Bigfoot is depicted in a Goofy movie, that's pretty hilarious. So the final product does kind of look like Goofy, and this was some of the drawings that they came from, which I thought was pretty interesting. And he wanted the creature to be the combination of organisms becomes a symbol for what can survive on Earth. If this horror show with all these weird attributes is the competitive species, now what does that say about our role as a species taking care of the planet? Right? He wanted it to be part bear, part praying mantis, part dog, and yes, part Disney cartoon. So you guys heard it here. I think it's a great movie. Tell your friends if you didn't watch it, or if you did. Tell me if you enjoyed it. Tell me what your favorite part was. I thought all of the performances were fantastic. Nicolas Cage, a little underused, but as always, amazing. The kids, you may recognize one of them from It, and the other one's from some Disney Apple show I never heard of, but still good all around. Really enjoyed the performances. Thought it was really cool to see the brothers like not getting along and fighting and what that meant for them. But good all around. Really enjoyed this one. Had a good time with it. Let me know what you think of the comments down below. I will 100% engage with you on this one. But I did my best to explain it. Tell me if my theory is wrong. Maybe your theory is right. Catch we have a full-length audio podcast that's live streams Friday nights. We have exclusive videos if you sign up. All sorts of fun stuff there. Thank you for listening. Do appreciate it. I'm pretty sure I got all this right. Prove me wrong. Love all y'all. But I'm on to the next one. Thanks for catching the video.
Be sure to join our channel to get the education you deserve. Make sure you check out our shorts, live streams, and catch us on all the socials.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.